Hi everybody, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my first video for Fun Friday. Yes, I'm going to start or try to regularly every Friday have a Fun Friday video for you. I'm going to be working on an album project which I will share with you at the end of this video. But for my first Fun Friday video, I thought I would go over my top 10 tools that I like to use for my paper crafting, specifically for album making. Yes, I know if you're counting right now, you see more than 10. That's because I have multiples in each category. And I will explain to you why in just a bit. So stay tuned and let's get started on this first Fun Friday video. So the first tool that I have to use, that I use every time I do a paper crafting project, specifically a album, well, you would do it with cards or whatever, is a trimmer, a paper trimmer. You need a way to cut your papers. So I'm going to go over these. I've done a tool or paper trimmer video before, and as time goes by, there's different reasons why I change out to different trimmers. I do a lot of paper cutting because I'm a designer for country craft creations. So I make a lot of projects and I do change up what I am doing from time to time or what tools I like to use for specific reasons. Okay, this one is brand new. I've tried it out. I'm excited to have this one. I have always been a guillotine paper fan. I used to have a Martha Stewart brand. Actually, I ended up with 2 of those because I actually just frankly wear them out. But the reason I like a guillotine is because it cuts very, very straight. So I'm going to do a little bit on this one. It has the holder here that will keep it in place. So let's put this piece of paper like on 4. Follow the lines. The numbers are really clear to see. I can place it up there really good. Hold this down, and it makes a really, really straight and clean cut. I have issues with other trimmers not cutting straight, so I'm really excited to have another one just for paper. This is just for my pattern paper and my cardstock. I am not going to use it for chipboard. What do I use for my chipboard? I have, because I do make a lot of albums, I have a heavy-duty Premier wooden guillotine over on my other counter over there across the room from me that I use strictly for chipboard because it cuts really clean. It's just a real heavy wooden one. I'm not going to bring it over here, but it is a guillotine, and that's what I like to cut my chipboard with. There are other trimmers. There's nothing wrong with the different cutters. That everyone has a preference. That's fine. You just need something that you can cut your papers really clean. If you're going to cut chipboard, you want a heavy-duty trimmer, or you can use a metal ruler and your cutting knife. That's perfectly fine if you're just doing some albums now and then. So this is my go-to for my paper now, but occasionally you will need one that is the slider type. Why? Well, suppose, let me trim this down. I want to have it a little smaller here, and I'll show you. Put this down to 8. I didn't hold that down really good, but it still cuts straight. Let me move this guy out of the way. I love, love, love this one, and I think I'm going to be really happy with it because I finally found something to replace my Martha Stewart ones. I like it because it has a 12-inch solid platform, not an arm extension, which I do have a Tim Holtz one, a tonic one, that I do like the way it cuts, but I don't like the markings because it has a split, because it has an arm that sometimes, well, I've been using it, but I wasn't totally happy with it. In a pinch, I will use it. This one gets cleaned off. But anyway, so if you need a little sliding type, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is a great one here. It does really good, but you do have, if you use it a lot for your paper, which I'm going to be using the guillotine instead, you have to change your blades out quite often because they will wear out really quick. And also you have to keep these little tracks clean, and mine does need cleaned. Really bad right now because gunk and stuff gets in them and they will start having a raggedy cut. So I don't like to use these for all of my paper trimming. Why do I need one? Sometimes you're doing a project where you need a partial cut. You need to be able to place your um, blade in at a certain point and cut up and stop to have a slit. These are great for that. So it's not mandatory that you have something like that, but it's in the top 10 trimmers cutting tools that I like to have. I do like the Fisker ones really well. I had one of those because it has a silver thread through here that you can actually see where you're cutting. This one you have to use the little dent, the little guide there to see where you're cutting on your paper. The Fiskars ones I really like. My little string broke and I didn't reorder it because this one I think is less than $15. So if you just need one for this particular cutting every now and then, you can't go wrong with this one. Okay, over here, this is a go-to tool that I will share at the end because it covers multiple tools. If you're just looking for something that doesn't take up a lot of space, but it does have that trimmer here, can do the same feature of cutting just a little bit here. So I do have this one in my stash. I ordered it from Country Craft Creations, and it does the same thing. So I will show you this one at the end of why it can work for multiple tools. Okay, so that is the trimmer tool that I always use a trimmer for my projects. The next tool that I use every time I craft is scissors. You can get by with just one pair of scissors. I have many. I'm not even showing all of them that I have. These are the ones that I use the most. This one is my go-to for almost everything, and it gets glue and everything on it. It's a Tonic Studios scissors. I don't know. I like the medium size. So any medium size good cutting scissor would work. This is just for my basic, like if I've got to trim off my corners of my pockets that I like to use. So this one I use most of the time. My second pair of scissors that I like to use is also a Tonic by Tim Holtz, or it's got the Tim Holtz label, and it's gunked up with, I have to clean it every now and then, is a big scissor. A big, long scissor is real important if you have to cut a long, straight line, because you can put this in here, like if I want to cut around a mat or something without going to my trimmer, this is perfect for that, and that's why I have those. Then I have these, which are, I think Busy Bee, is that what it's called? I don't know. I have the yellow, yeah, Cutter Bee. This one I use a lot for my fussy cutting. So if you do a lot of fussy cutting, where you put your blade in and you move the paper to cut around a shape, this smaller size will do it for you. That's what I use for that. So that's why I have those. And then, because I'm messy with glue and stuff, and I get glue and gunk stuff on these, and I have to clean them really often, I like to have a pair of scissors, and I pull these out, and I've got a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to have to clean them off. Dried glue there. These are from my sewing stash, and these I use specifically for ribbon, and I don't have any ribbon here to cut, but because I like a nice, clean, straight edge on my ribbon. You don't have to have those also, but you definitely do want scissors, maybe one or two good pair, one for fussy cutting and one for general cutting that you want in your tool supplies. So that's the scissors. Next, the tool that I use every time I make an album is my scoreboard. I like the 12 by 12 size for album making. This is a Martha Stewart. I've had it for a while. There's other brands. They're all similar in usage. So whatever the one you like the best. I like this one because it's got a place up here. Now that does come with a scoring tool. I switched out to this one. So maybe I'm cheating a little bit. This is a separate tool, but I put it with my scoreboard. So I'm counting this all as one tool. Okay, so this is tool number 3, is your scoreboard with a scoring tool. So I like these because the markings are clear and good to see, and you just score. And I like the Cricut tool for scoring because it has a nice point in there where I can stay within that line and score for my album crafting. Okay, so that is the scoring tool. I'm going to leave it here because the next tool will go in line with this. So let me show you that one next. The next tool is a mat, a self-healing cutting mat. You may not always see me using this in my videos, making an album, but I pretty much have it here and I do use it. You can tell by all the gunk, the glue, because I glue on it and everything like that. The reason you want this is this particular one I like because it fits in my scoreboard, which makes it really handy. You don't have to move the scoreboard out of the way to use this tool. There are lots of different kinds of mats, cutting mats. So there's smaller, bigger, whatever works for you, but you probably definitely want a cutting mat in your tools in making your paper crafting and your albums. The next tool is a craft knife, which could go right on in with this cutting mat, so I could have lumped those two together, but a good crafting knife. Now there's the smaller ones that you can get through craft supply places. I like the Husky brand that you can get at your hardware stores. Go to Home Depot, grab you a Husky knife that you can replace the blades. If it's dull, then you want to break the ends off. Works great on this. If you're going to use this for cutting chipboard, you really need a metal ruler, which I don't have one. I need to grab one the next time I'm in town. I don't do a lot of cutting like that with my knife, but a knife is handy, and I do use it quite often for cutting, trimming other things like my score tape sheets and stuff like that. So you would have a ruler, and you would place it on your paper, and you would just do a cut with your knife. So you can use a plastic ruler. That's another one of my tools. I'm going to set that aside. But anyway, the craft knife is a must-have. I have this one. I also have a bigger one that I sometimes use. Both are Huskies. So that's maybe a little overkill with the tool, but the craft knife comes in very, very handy in making your albums. The next tool that I'm going to share that I use in album making all the time in my paper crafting, and I need to clean these, I got glue all over them, is my set of acrylic spacers from Country Craft Creations. The set comes with a 1.5 inch and 2 1-inch. Why? Because I use it, or we use them for placement of our cardstock, our chipboard and cardstock when we're wrapping an album cover. So you want a 1-inch border around it. You would put your cardstock down first. I don't have a big enough sheet here to show you, and I'm not going to cut up another sheet. But anyway, you would put it in and use your mat on your scoreboard. You'd butt it in like this. These are real handy. Of course, if you don't have or can't order the acrylic ones, you can make some out of chipboard by cutting them 12 inches by 1 inch and 12 inches by 1.5. But this would be for a 1-inch border for album cover wrapping, and you would put it there. You would put adhesive on your chipboard, place it, butt it up against these two. You've probably seen me in my videos do that. And then when you take these away, you have the perfect 1-inch border all the way around for wrapping. And then that is also when your craft knife comes in handy for cutting. I'm not going to cut the corners of this, but like this, cutting the corners, you can use your spacers or your ruler. You just cut the corners of your cardstock before you wrap your album cover. So the spacers are a great tool that I use. I use them all the time, as you can see by the evidence of the glue from when I'm on my hands and touching them. So those are something that I really, really use a lot. Next up for a must-have tool in paper crafting and album making is the ruler. I have several different ones here because I lose rulers. And I've always tried different ones. This is the Tim Holtz one. I like it because the numbers are easy to read. You can line it up on your paper. Like if you're wanting 3/4 of an inch from the edge, you would just line up that line. You can see through it really well. And put the line on the edge of the paper, and then you can cut it here or draw your pencil mark. Got to have a ruler to measure your papers. If you're a paper measurer, I have to measure to make sure everything fits right. These two are quilting rulers, but they work great for paper crafting as well. And like I said, that a metal one where you can cut with your craft knife, and I'm thinking I'm going to pick one up because I don't have one. Maybe there's one in our office that was my husband's. I may steal it, so we'll see. So that is the ruler, which is the next tool that I use all the time. My next tool that I absolutely use every time I'm making an album in paper crafting is my Teflon bone folder. Not necessarily for scoring, though I could, but because it's nice and rounded, it doesn't tear my cardstock, and it's Teflon, that glue comes off. I wish all my tools were Teflon. That would be great. Anyway, I use this all the time. So here where I've scored these lines, you would fold your score lines, and I use it to burnish my score lines like that. It's a great heavy tool. It's great for burnishing. I often use it on its flat side, burnishing paper like this. A tool that I have to have every time I craft. I must know where my bone folder is, my Teflon one. For this next tool, I move the scoreboard and mat out of the way. The next tool that I have to use all the time is a sander tool. I like this particular type. It's cheap. When it gets used up, I can throw it away. Pick this up at Harbor Freight by the pack. You can get 10 really cheaply. This is just a sanding block. Also, I like to have, if I don't have that on hand, an emery board type file works great for sanding your paper. So when you fold it, sometimes, especially in the winter, even the artisan cardstock will tend to have a little nubs of where it might look like it's going to crack, but all you have to do is just sand that off. So this comes in really handy. So this is one tool. I consider this one tool. This one is for heavier sanding, like if you want to distress the edges of your paper or something, this is great for that. So I definitely use this every time I make an album, is my sanding tools. My next tool that I use nearly every time I make albums is my corner rounders or corner chompers. There are other more lightweight corner rounders that work just fine. It just depends on your preference. I like the chompers by We Are Memory Keepers. Had these for years. I didn't like the little doors on the ends here because it trapped all those little bits in there and it would clog up and then it would quit working. So I took mine off. That way I can just dump out the little bits into my little trash thing here beside me and just keep on working. If I had to choose just one of these, because there's several different ones, and I have five. I have four. Okay, sorry. The top one that I use all the time is the rounder, the 1/2 inch and the quarter inch. Now you open up the wings all the way until they stop, okay? And if you want the 1/2 inch, you look where it says 1/2 inch, that's the side you use. And you put your paper all the way in the corner of your paper into that so that it's flush on each side of the wings, just like that, and punch. We'll punch through chipboard, several layers of cardstock. That's why I use a chomper instead of a regular corner rounder, because I want the heavy duty thing to go through my chipboard. Now then, I do like to use, this is my second one in album making, I do like to be able to make my own tags sometimes without having to use a die or a die machine. This has the angle. Some people have said, well, that's not really the angle of a tag. Well, it's an angle of a tag that I like, so I use it anyway. Same thing, open the wings up, the angle side, put your paper in, and chomp. So that gives you the perfect angle on both sides. At the bottom of a tag, I would use the corner rounder, whichever size I want. Got my tag, punch a hole. Show you that next tool for punching that hole. So these decorative corner rounders, tools, one or both, are the different designs that they have, is something that I definitely use all the time. My last tool that I use all the time, which I think is number 10, unless I cheated and added in a couple of extras, which I may have, I don't know. I think I counted, and this is number 10, is the We Are Memory Keepers, what do they call this? Chomper, bite, hole puncher, and brad setter, or eyelet setter. This I use a lot, especially if I'm making tags for albums or anywhere I need a hole. It will do two size holes, the bigger one and the smaller, And then you can also set the eyelets. I don't have an eyelet here to show you, but if this was cut for a tag and I want the bigger hole, I can set the depth of it, and I just go in and easily punch that hole. Very, very handy tool. Yes, there's other hole punchers, but this is heavy duty. It will punch through that chipboard if you're making a chipboard tag. So that's an investment that you might want. It also comes as a big bite, which I don't use very often. I do have it, where it's bigger, it will reach longer, especially if you're doing 12 by 12 pages, you might want that one. But this is the hole puncher. I know there's another name for it, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. So I believe this is my tool number 10, so I'm not going to show any more tools. Do I have other tools? Yes, I do, but these are the ones, the 10 I know that I use every time I make an album or a project, and I wanted to share those with you, that if this was all I had, I could get by with working with using these and making my albums. These are tools. I know people are thinking, wait, what about the glue and the score tape and all that? No, those are supplies. Those are things I have to keep buying over and over and over. It's just like my paper. Those are not tools. When I buy one of these, this is the one I'm going to have for as long as I can, unless I drop it or break it or something. So I'm not sharing any of the supplies that I would have to replace. So it's just the tools. So next I'm going to show you that album I hope to recreate as one of my Fun Friday projects. I almost forgot that I said I would share more about this tool. I'm not going to go over it in lots and lots of details because I have a separate video on the all-in-one tool by We Are Memory Keepers. You can check for that on my channel. But if you have it in your budget and you want to have all-in-one, a tool that has all-in-one, this is the one that you might want to consider. You get your trimmer for your paper, just like that. It opens up to accommodate for your 12 by 12. You can open this up. Just be careful with this blade. Make sure it's at the top away from you. Flip this over so this ridge is sticking up. Bring this back down. This becomes your scoreboard. I only have a little bit of paper left. This becomes your scoreboard here, like this. Comes with a bone folder scoring tool. So I will use this one a lot if I'm wanting to use less tools, take up less space in the camera view. So there's your scoreboard. This is your scoreboard here. It doesn't have the advantage of the full 12 by 12. It just goes up to 6. So that's why I use the other one a lot. But it comes here. You can make ribbons, bows, with it using this, tassels. It also comes with your hole punches, your envelope punch board, just all sorts of things here on this punch here on this side. So check out my other video and find out more about the all-in-one if that's something you think you might want to have, or especially if you're a beginner and you want something where you get several things in with your tool, then check that out and see how you might like that before you buy it. Check several videos. I know there's others that have videos on this. So anyway, that's the all-in-one tool. So next I'm going to show you my Fun Friday project that I hope to start on next week. This is the album that I want to remake as my Fun Friday project, my first Fun Friday album project. This is the very first album that I made from scratch when I began learning how to make albums. This was, I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe 9. I'm not sure. I watched a video on YouTube from another designer who did tutorials, but she was from a foreign country and it was hard to understand. So I had some difficulty with some of the construction aspects. Had to go out on my own and just figure it out and make it work. I love the album. I'm never getting rid of it. It's rough around the edges. Things are not quite the way they should have been. The quality of the product, the cardstock, wouldn't be what I would use today, and so that's why I want to remake it. And I'm going to remake it in the Country Craft Creations paper collection called Homer's Diner, because I think it has the same vibes, the vintage 50s vibes, and it's going to be perfect for that. So that's what I'm going to use. Let me grab that paper, the cover sheet of that paper, and show you which one I'm using. So here it is. Excuse the glare. I don't want to take it out of the paper. Homer's Diner, 12 by 12, 50s diner themed paper collection. I just love it. I love the prints, the images. So that's what I'm going to use to make the same style album. Um, I don't know if I'll do all the same elements. I'll try to keep it where it's not bowed. So you can see this one's bowed because, well, I added pictures to it and some things. So let me show you this one on the inside real quick. And hopefully next Friday I'll have my first installment of this because it won't be all in one video. We'll probably make the cover or something. And I've got to place an order to Country Craft Creations for some more chipboard and cardstock. So I've got to run do that. But here on the front, I found this Route 66 knob. Bought some die cuts. I didn't cut those. Used some different flowers and some clips with charms. I just love. Got a little pink convertible there and the bubblegum machine and the Route 66. It has a placement where I can put the date. It's got a really wide spine. And the back is just plain. And I use this elastic closure around that knob. So when you open this up, I think what makes it really thick is this little album inside. But I love it. I love how it turned out. There's my pictures in there. Sometimes you don't get to see pictures in an album, but I took scenery pictures of this Route 66 trip that my hubby and I went on. I absolutely loved it. I've got the little album here that I made with pockets, different pictures in here, this paper collection that I used, all the decorating. And this little album, I've got tags, will come out of this. I think I did. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I attached it down. That's why it's so thick. It's just like an extension here of the whole album. I put a closure piece on it with a magnet and it holds it like that. And then here we have different elements. Like I said, some will be the same, some won't. And you can see the different cardstock that I had wasn't the greatest quality. So that's why I'm thankful I found Country Craft Creations for that fabulous artisan cardstock that I use now. This flips open. This flips back. So for someone who had never made this type of album, this was quite a challenge, but I loved how it turned out. I've got my bottle caps, my vintage bottle caps here, tags in here with some of the pictures. You may recognize some of these places along Route 66. We started west of Oklahoma City and drove all the way to the midpoint. Couldn't do the whole thing. We just did it on a Labor Day weekend. Had a great time, found a motel when we could. And I just love it. And I would love to go on it again. And I made my husband stay on the original Route 66 as much as possible. If you know the road, a lot of it ends up being on the interstate, but we stayed on the original bumpity bump, bump, bump concrete Route 66 that we could. This is a note about our trip. And I just took notes on that, and that goes in that pocket. So that's that section. So this is going to be a lot of fun to create the general idea using different papers. This one here I love. This has got a frame with the acetate in it, which does come out. It's another full sheet. That's my hubby back then. And all these die cuts that I found, I went on Etsy and found different die cuts from people. Here's another little pocket on this side. I used an actual map for the paper behind that. That was fun, which shows the route that we took. This is another journaling place that I haven't wrote in yet, but the different pictures. I wonder if these places are still there. This trip was, I can't remember the date. It's been a few years back when I made this album. After it, so it was before I made this album. So this one here is another flip up. And let me slide it. I love this one. It's got the pocket. It has a little booklet that does come out that has pictures in it. See, there's the concrete Route 66 with, you can see the sections. And when you're driving on it, it goes bump-a-da-dum, bump-a-da-dum, bump-a-da-dum. Bridges all along the way. Signs. I absolutely had a blast taking pictures of the sign, looking at them and determining, was that original back then? Was that what it would have been? Abandoned buildings, just all kinds of stuff like that. All the little gadgets I could find to put in here that looked like it was there. We made it to Amarillo and the Cadillac Ranch. It's a fun road trip if you've never been on it. This one I used a movie looking thing because drive-in movies were the thing back then. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Route 66, The Blob. There at that time there was one of the drive-in movies was still standing there, grown up with grass around it, but I could take pictures, so that was a lot of fun. And you can see here in the center, I've had to re-doctor this with tape because it was coming apart. It's so heavy, and the way the hinges were done were not the way I would do it today. So that would have to be redone in a different album. This opens up like this. We got the diner that I was able to take pictures of, that they had a replica of in one of the towns. Let's see. Let me clip that back. I don't want to lose anything here. Okay, and another bottle cap. Oh, this one, let me take that off. Flips up. I forgot. So there you have another car, and you've got flows and some of the posters and things. There's museums we went through. I got to take lots of pictures there. More of the map here on this border. And are there things in here? It's been a while since I looked at it. Yeah, there's pull-out tags here on the ends. So yeah, there's a lot of real estate in this book. So here we have another pull-out here. This one flips down and flips back and out. Lots of fun. So I think we'll have fun remaking this. You could do it in anything you want. You don't have to do the 50s diner or the Route 66. This comes out. We got the big Texan Cadillac. This isn't Cadillac Ranch. This was can't remember what it was called. They had Volkswagen Bugs instead of the Cadillacs. So that was funny. And yeah, this goes in like that. And there's the Midpoint Cafe. That's how far we made it before we turned around and headed back home. More tags and flip outs. Different things I did with some Crackle medium. Another little booklet in here. I don't think I've added pictures to that yet. This one was a lot of fun because I used to have an uncle that lived in McLean, Texas. So this is on Route 66. I love the buildings and the vintage vehicles there, the gas stations. That was a lot of fun. And then here we have more Pop Hicks Restaurant in Clinton, Oklahoma. Bingo card. So I utilized a lot of pockets in this. And then this one flips out like that. We have more pictures in there. Adrian, that's where the midpoint is, I believe. And there's the cafe that we ate out. If you notice, I didn't take many pictures of us. just the scenery mostly. Other things, Midway, the gas pumps, all those kind of things is what I wanted pictures of and wanted to put in this album like that. So this tells you midpoint, how many miles to Chicago and Los Angeles if you were going to go the whole route, 1,139 miles. That would be a long road trip. So anyway, that's going to be my Fun Friday remake. Yeah, I'll either have to extend the spine or not put as many pages or elements inside. So we'll see, but I like this one. I like the chunky. I did have to fix it because my construction was not that great. My adhesives were not that great. So it'll be better this next time. It'll look different papers, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you'll join me every Friday. Now, I don't know what time of the day on Friday I will have it for me to do a video and edit it and upload it because I'm still having some upload issues with time. I'll probably do my video on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know, and actually share it with you on Friday if I can. I will let you know if it's going to be late or something. But so if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, click that bell so you'll be notified when each video is up so you can come and check it out. Join me in making an album, and we'll just have a lot of fun on Fridays. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Well, it looks like my video didn't get uploaded on Friday, and I apologize for that. I hope to do better next week, and I hope you will join me. I'm sharing a couple of videos here on the screen on my channel that you might also enjoy. And remember to subscribe. You can just click there on my photo in the middle of the screen along the bottom of the photo here that you're seeing. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.